Okay, so if you've been watching some of the updates as far as the Philippine Mars goes, today was D-Day for its departure out of British Columbia to San Francisco. Now, if you go back a week or so, it actually was attempting to go back then for its first attempt. However, number two engine, they had an oil pressure issue, and actually turned out to be a faulty sensor rather than an actual oil pressure feed issue. These have four R3350s, so they're 2,500 horse, 18 cylinder, and you got to think about the time frame of how old these motors are. And let's be real, there are some good variants, and there's other variants that, well, to a mechanic, they want to pull their hair out. 3350, some people have some strong opinions on those engines. They're great engines when they run right. However, they can be kind of troublesome when they're not. So, number two engine had an oil pressure issue. I guess flight engineer noticed, and it turns out after they brought it back, which was a good call on their part, they brought it back to its original base, or Colson aircraft, the seaplane bases in BC. Turns out it was a faulty sensor. They went through, double checked everything, did some taxing, did some engine run ups, everything passed. Today, December 15th, was supposed to be the departure date. They were going to leave this morning around 9:30 Pacific, and their destination was San Francisco at the Alameda Naval Station, where it formerly served back in World War II and after World War II, in its time frame while active, or active duty, I should say. While watching the flight tracking, it has completely turned around. And you'll see here in this photo, the original destination, obviously south, as is coming into U.S. airspace, it has turned around. And everybody's talking what's going on, and there is actual, I should say, a peak in emergency, is what one would say, during the outcome of its flight, and there's a reason why it did turn around. So the problem is with the flight tracking system is when it goes into Canadian airspace, the numbers and its data, such as airspeed, altitude, and actual heading, is not very reliable data. In fact, it cuts out usually. I don't know why that is, but it's much more reliable on the US side than the Canadian side. Last I checked on when I was tracking it, everything was good, and then it completely made a 180 back for Victoria. And right now it is sitting, when I last checked, it is still circling over Pat Bay. They're trying to land, my guess is at Pat Bay, which is in British Columbia. There's a catch though. Why they're turning around now makes much more sense. Number 4 engine, the prop is completely feathered. It is stopped. So it is running on three out of the 4 engines, and it has been circling for the last 25 minutes. So something is wrong. What that is, I don't know. From what we're gathering, it is indefinitely shut off, and they're just circling. What's kind of working against them right now is that the weather window that they originally were going to depart from is closing in and closing fast. Their original destination where they left from, Port Alpine, I'm saying that wrong, I'm saying it right, I don't know, I apologize in advance. It is completely fogged over. They cannot land there anymore. That is where a majority of the mechanical repairs and whatnot, it is the original base for this Martin Mars aircraft is. So they're circling right now. I don't have much update as to what failed on engine number 4, but unfortunately for all those who have come down to San Francisco to watch this arrive, I highly doubt that that is going to happen today, and if it's going to happen this coming week, unless they can get what is failing on this engine. The problem is what's arising now is that earlier I had a friend that's at Sprout Lake where it departed, and he says that it was smoking heavily during its engine run up this morning. So that, I guess, that's a problem when you deal with an 80-year-old aircraft that has been sitting dormant for the last 20 years. Is you know, you're going to run into issues. What kind of made this system of flow is more complicated is the time frame that they had to get this aircraft airworthy. And we're not talking about a hop and a skip like it was for the Hawaii Mars right over to Victoria. We're talking flying essentially from the northern part of North America to, the southern parts of the United States. It's got a journey. Today's journey alone was nearly 5 hours. So that's a lot of time frame in the air of making sure all your engine vitals are running perfectly. You'll see in this video, number 4 is clearly out and is feathered. With the updates of what's going to happen, and now they're having to land at I wouldn't call it an unfamiliar location with a fairly big aircraft, but it was never in the plan, and so we're just going to have to wait it out and see what's going on. If you are, like I said, in San Francisco waiting for this to arrive, I do not believe it is going to arrive today. It is definitely going to land. My guess is it's going to happen 2 things. It's going to land at Pat Bay, and they're going to make the necessary repairs or make the call from there, or it is waiting and circling, which it has been circling since 1:11 p.m. If that gives some perspective. They are either circling to return back to Sprout Lake at its original HQ to be repaired. So that's the best and most up-to-date information I have right now. It is currently flying. It is currently circling. It is back in the Canadian airspace near BC and circling in Pat Bay in Sydney. So if you're wondering its location, where it's at, that is where it is currently. It is currently still flying. And I just got another update that it is actually has just landed in Pat Bay in Sydney. Number 4 is still off. So that's the update right now. Here's a video of it landing in Pat Bay. It's good. So they are on the ground, or on the water, I should say. Aircraft is slowed down completely. Water looks a little choppy, but it has landed in Pat Bay, Sydney. So that is the current update that I have for the Philippine Mars and its number 2 attempt to fly south to its intended destination, which is Arizona at the Pima Air and Space Museum down there. But this plane does not want to leave Canada. It is more than apparent from what we've seen these last 2 attempts that she is not ready to go. Maybe the airplane's talking to us saying, hey, keep me airworthy or keep me here. I don't want to be dismantled and put on display forever. People will beg to differ because I totally get it. 4-engine bomber that's 80 years old and trying to keep that airworthy, that's logistically it could be a nightmare. And obviously for it to be on display for many more years for people to see it. Part of me is, I want to see this continue to fly, and it obviously is putting up a fight to be forever not flown again at its destination. But still, it's hard to see that, knowing that this attempt is for its maiden voyage is its last, or going to be its last. This plane is definitely putting the crew and the pilots through the ringer, and in the attempt of getting it flown south, and I feel for them, and I admire their tendency to continue on and to fix this aircraft. This is attempt number 2. Now will be attempt number 3. It is safely on the ground, and everybody looks to be safe, and the aircraft is safe. So that is number 1. If I have any more updates on the plane, I will post that up in an updated video. But if you are wondering the status of the Philippine Mars, it was attempting number 2 south. It has turned around. It has landed with number 4 engine failed and in feathered position at Pat Bay in Sydney, and that is in British Columbia. So that is all I have so far, and as you can see, it is not going to arrive in San Francisco today, unfortunately. So if you booked flights or you're waiting there anxiously, now you know, and hopefully you can see this at another time frame, and hopefully everybody has a great Sunday, and I'm hoping the crew of the Philippine Mars has an even better Sunday than what they're going through right now. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.